On 22 February 2016, the South African Predator Association presented a day-long workshop at the Chazen Game Lodge near Vredefort in the Free State Province, South Africa. The main focus of the workshop was on the lion industry's contribution towards enhancing the lion population, both managed and wild, in Southern Africa.
The purpose of this workshop is to gather information for the developing of guidelines for the lion industry, to determine a national strategy for the lion industry that is recognized nationally and internationally.
About 115 people who are involved in the lion industry arrived from all over South Africa to attend the event. Coming from as far afield as Polokwane in the Limpopo province, Cradock in the Eastern Cape and Bray in the Northwest province. These attendees consisted of SAPA and non-SAPA members, including lion breeders, animal scientists, environmental consultants, owners of predator parks, representatives of the National Department of Environmental Affairs, professional hunters and outfitters. Attendees of this first-of-a-kind workshop involving so many role players in the lion industry were welcomed by the president of SAPA, Professor Pieter Potgieter. He encouraged all present to actively and freely participate in the proceedings of the day. The morning session started with a presentation by Mpho Tiani, Deputy Director, CITES Policy Development and Implementation, from the Department of Environmental Affairs. His presentation was on the ruling by the United States Fish and Wildlife Services on the status of the African lion and its significance for the lion industry. Then, Carla van der Vyver, Chief Executive Officer of SAPA, gave an overview of the lion industry's contribution towards enhancing the lion population in Southern Africa. Attendees divided into discussion groups tasked with doing a SWOT analysis of the lion industry in South Africa in order to assist in developing an action plan to be presented to the Department of Environmental Affairs in the near future. Further discussion sessions were held on population enhancement, extending lion habitat, genetic enhancement, re-establishing lions in the wild, financial enhancement of the lion industry, and establishing a conservation fund. Attendees participated enthusiastically in discussions, sharing their concerns, experiences and views related to the lion industry in the country. A sense of anticipation and constructive commitment towards improving the reputation and management of the lion industry in South Africa prevailed amongst many of the attendees.
It's extremely beneficial to the trade as an industry to get inputs from different sectors of the market, from our breeding facilities to our hunting facilities, our outfitters, to the farms physically, the ranches themselves.
I think it's important for all the stakeholders in the industry to get together and discuss the matters that's at hand at the moment, as the lion industry has taken a lot of pressure in the last couple of months from the outside. It's important that we all get together and have our opinions together so that we can speak out of one mouth and not all have our own opinions.
This workshop is quite significant because you get all the breeders together and you get different opinions from everyone. So, like they say, strength is unity, and if everyone stands together, I'm sure we can sort out this problem that we're sitting with today.
After lunch, the second discussion session on management mechanisms to guarantee the origin and integrity of South African lion trophies was introduced by Professor Pieter Potgieter, President of SAPA. During this session, issues such as the accreditation of breeding and keeping facilities, the accreditation of lion hunting destinations, as well as the identification and traceability of South African lion trophies received attention. The afternoon session also included a presentation by Dr. Paul Lebeau from Wildlife Stud Services on the DNA and genetics of ranch lions. Thereafter, Dr. Keith Ramsey, a former director at the Department of Agriculture and now an independent environmental consultant, shared the new draft norms and standards for the welfare of captive lions with the audience. Towards the end of the proceedings, many attendees confirmed the value-adding role of a workshop of this nature.
Well, I think it's an extremely positive workshop. It's nice to see people, both members of SAPA and non-members and people from the industry, to get to know each other. I don't think everybody knows the problems. The one industry doesn't know what the other industry is necessarily doing, and I think it's extremely useful to have a workshop like this, but I think we are moving in the right direction.
I think the most important value is that you're getting everybody together to agree on important issues. It's quite important to get something put together that everybody can agree upon, so that you have consensus, so that you can develop a way forward.
Basically, the value of a workshop like this is to, first of all, to determine the needs of the industry, and at the same time look at the possibilities of how we can develop the society further, the association, so that we can maximize the income for the lion breeders, as well as address all the animal welfare issues and genetic issues and contribution to nature conservation.
It was indeed a very meaningful workshop. The reason being that we are in a watershed situation at the moment, and we have been put a challenge by the American decision about the status of the African lion, and on behalf of the lion industry in South Africa, SAPA has risen to the challenge, and we have come up with a plan to prove the conservation value of our lions.
In the final analysis, this event, presented by the South African Predator Association, confirmed the urgent need to unite and collectively address the way forward in meeting the challenges facing the lion industry in South Africa.